to do.
All right, we are live for the 80th episode of the
Let's go podcast 80. That's 20 away from 100. What an accomplishment here at the HSL. I think our first ever podcast, if I remember correctly, I don't remember correctly. Was it in April of last year? Maybe? Maybe.
March
No, it
for
was
sure.
later.
March for
Was it
sure.
March? Uh-huh.
We started the
But
season in March. It was before the season.
no,
No.
I know,
Well,
but the podcast is a later addition to
oh, you're
HSL.
right. You're right. You're right.
Anyways, we have a very special guest here making his officially second, but a little bit I think third because he hopped on with who was he?
Jake
Who were we
Byrne. He's on
interviewed?
with Jake Byrne.
Right, he popped on with Jake Byrne for a little bit. Avi Nenner, a very good friend of myself and David, and of course a very good friend of HSL, and not need to be said, a fantastic softball player. And we are coming down to the wire here with the HSL Spring League, both Titan and Legacy. We got some big battles, especially really in both leagues, but. We're going to talk a little about our Titan League battle here. We got three teams fighting it out for first place in the final week, which we love to hear because when we started, last year, just very quickly to go on a tangent, I was getting a lot of hate from people like, oh, when you don't have when it's not a draft league, there's always one team that's way better than everyone else, and we have four teams that are really competitive with each other and has held each other really, really close to almost every single time they played each other. There's been no blowouts. Everything's been a close game, and we're very proud of that. So we're trying to build and continue to grow on. That being said, I'll stop talking, and David, I'll let you properly introduce Avi as well.
Your introduction was really good. The only thing I would add to the introduction is that I would say since the last time we had Avi on officially, which I think was was it last fall, Avi, or last spring?
I think this spring.
I think it was the spring.
It was the spring. I would say
Yeah.
that Avi has climbed into the top tier of softball players in the area. I don't think there's an A-League team in the area that wouldn't want him playing first base. Lakewood, Muncie, which Muncie's a little inferior from what I understand. Lakewood, Muncie, any league would want him. And I think there's a reason why. He's just on team after team that wins championships, including a B-League championship with my team a couple of years ago. Was a huge veteran, presence. He knows, he's a cornerstone literally at first base and just he magically finds himself on a lot of championship teams, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So, Avi, welcome. It's good. I hope we gassed you up enough, and now you're ready to start.
Thank you. Too kind of it.
Dave, when you were saying he's growing, I thought you were referring to his beard there for a second. I thought you were going to go a little bit of a joke.
That's right. And this season, Gordon Companies, how's it going so far with your crew?
It's been great. We've been gelling. We have such good chemistry rolling from last year. There's just confidence. The guys love playing with each other. We're really excited for the playoffs to start.
Yeah, I feel like it's this time of year where teams like Gordon Companies and like the Bombers and even like my own team to an extent really take things to a whole new level. As Steve always says, the regular season is fun, but there's nothing like playoff softball, and that's where the real intensity and the real competitiveness and the real need and fire come out in the playoffs, which is, like I said, super exciting that you have so many teams that have a real shot at it going in, at least in my opinion, but we'll get to that.
Ellie Ray says, quit the Muncie slander, y'all wouldn't stand a chance.
By the way, we're trying to work on a HSL MSL All-Star game. We're actually, chatting with Yitz and Ezzy about it from MSL. We'd love to make it happen. It's a little complicated because MSL runs full Sunday programming with their softball, so it'd seem like it'd have to be a weeknight, and even like the only time MSL is not running programming on Sunday is like 1:00, and that's like too late for a lot of our guys to come play because they're playing in the Shoe League sometimes till 12:00. So it's a little complicated. We're trying to make it happen.
Yeah. So Nenner, you guys are gelling, and I feel like Gordon Companies doesn't really turn things on until the playoffs.
No, I mean we all walk in with the mindset we want to go get our ADs, play cleanly, but it's also the regular season is, I wouldn't say it's spring training, but it's more like let's make sure everything gets right so that when the playoffs do start, everyone's clicking. You don't necessarily need everyone to hit to win a game in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, we want everyone to be on their A game. And that's what you work towards.
Right. And did you guys lose anybody since last season?
I mean, I guess it depends. I left for the fall. I know Goldenberg joined.
I'm in spring.
Fall,
I'm in last spring. Yeah.
Spring? No, there's a couple new guys.
Ellie Race promised me he's never playing again in the HSL, so as long as he has a YMSL game on Sunday.
All right, he'll play in the championship, and we all know that.
It's funny. I asked him, and he said absolutely not. He said no way.
All right, let's see what happens. We all know he can't turn down a trophy.
All right.
Speaking of championships, do you guys have a backup pitcher?
Do you need a backup pitcher when
Well,
Yossi's your
that's
pitcher?
sort of what I'm asking because I remember last year. I feel like Kaufman might have been your number three pitcher. I don't know how you could say that about the Sheriff, but that was my mindset all year. And now he's, talking about people who've taken it to a new level, and maybe this has been the chemistry you guys are all developing. I feel like Kaufman is now not only the number one pitcher on Gordon Companies, but maybe the number one pitcher in the league.
I mean, David, you want to compare him to maybe 2019 Jacob DeGrom?
2019.
I don't know. DeGrom came up as a rookie with Syndergaard, and he wasn't the guy who was supposed to be anything. Yossi was under Aria, wasn't supposed to be anything, and then look what he did quietly, just took over the world.
Very
It's funny.
quietly.
I keep on forgetting about that. Like I remember my first year playing in HSL with the Black Sox. I remember like we would get a guy Yossi Kaufman as a backup, and this is also before Ariel took his pitching to a whole new level. I would always be like, I'd rather face the regular than the backup. Like I was nervous. Whatever. I'm like, who the heck is this Yossi Kaufman guy? Throwing fast. But like I didn't think like but it's just funny to me. Like I have a hard time associating this Yossi Kaufman is the same Yossi Kaufman as from 6 years ago when he was a backup to Ariel Cohn, who I just wanted to avoid, but didn't really think much of because he didn't really pitch much at all.
It shows that, you pitch a lot and you learn the game and become a great pitcher. Not all of us, obviously it takes a lot of skill, but
So, what is the reason that A League teams tend to have two pitchers?
I mean, I think when you're going against A-League hitting, you kind of leave it all out on the field as a pitcher. I mean, Avi would answer this better, but you don't give it your all, and like after 7 innings, you're kind of wiped, especially later in the season when you get your playoff games are in June. It's going to be
Yeah.
80 degrees, 90 degrees. Like, you're sweating bullets. We're all tired just fielding. Imagine throwing the ball every so.
So then
Yeah, I
let
mean,
me ask you.
I could go. I could answer you like three quick things. A is like Steve Pollen always says, and he takes it to a little bit of an extreme, but um, the looks. When you're pitching against guys, like guys hitting against you two or three times in one game, they just saw you three times. Now they're going to see you three more times. A real pro hitter could adjust and know what pitches they have, what stuff they have, especially that day. So you want to change it up a little bit. B, if you're a little bit of a quote unquote more wild pitcher, which Yossi is not, which is probably what helps him pitch two games a lot. You throw a lot more pitches, and like obviously you tire yourself out a lot more. You can walk 4 or 5 guys in game one. You're going into game two exhausted, especially with that heat. And I think C is it just similar to one is it gives gives the hitters a new look, a new pace, a new change. Those I think the three basic. But the thing that makes Yossi so special and me on a lesser level is that he has a rubber arm. Like he could go 2 games, and I don't even think it affects him. And a lot of times it's more effective in game two than game one. Against my team earlier in the year, we hit him pretty decently hard. I won't say very hard. They didn't play the cleanest game, but we scored like 7 runs or something in game one. Game two, he threw a shutout. I think. I don't think he let up any run. Maybe one
Hmm.
run. But Yossi does that where he sometimes heats up, and I'm some of that also where a lot of times I'm more effective in the second game than in the first game. I think when we beat Yossi in the fall league last year, our team, the MS Motor Nuggies, the first game I remember in the semifinals against him, we got rocked, and the second game we rocked them, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm similar to that as well. But I think that's a short answer.
I would agree. As the batter, it's also easier to make the adjustments. The more you're going to step in your first at bat against the pitcher, and you're going to stand where you feel comfortable. The pitcher's going to throw you in the whole time. You're going to have to adjust, and by the fourth plate appearance against the pitcher, you're going to know exactly where to go. You're going to time them up. You're going to know exactly where he's throwing against you, and
So let me
go
paint
from
this
there.
scenario. So then let me paint a scenario for you. I mean, the playoffs are starting in what is it on May 18th, Avi?
Week from Sunday.
And the Titan. Oh, and then the championship will move all the way to June 8th. Okay, that's a long layoff. So May 18th, you're in the first round of the playoffs. Let's say it's 85 and humid that day, and you have 2 games, right? You're not worried about not having a
Do we
back.
have games on the 25th?
Not right now.
Forgetting.
I think since it's Memorial Day
Memorial
weekend, I
Day.
think we're trying to
It's gonna get
avoid.
complicated with the Titan and best of threes. We might need. All right, we'll forget. All right, not for now. I'm just thinking
Oh, you mean if there's not a sweep, then
because the goal is for the right goal is for the Titans to do best of three for both the semis and the ship, but you're dealing with May 18th, June 8th, and June 15th. If their best of three series go on for the semifinals in both series, you're dealing with a
You
bit of an
skip
issue. Maybe
you skip June 1st.
no, it's Arab
well,
What did
we
I
Shavuos.
have
forget? Oh, it's Irish Rulis. Right, right,
Lewis.
right.
Right, that's why there's an issue. That's why there's a bit of an issue. All right, we'll figure that out. Anyways, back to your
One
question.
second,
Sorry for
back to my
interrupting.
question. So, Avi, you're not worried about Yossi. You're not worried about the sheriff. The question is, can the sheriff, with his big cowboy hat and his full uniform and wearing the gun on his belt and everything a sheriff wears, is he going to be able to withstand an 85, 90-degree day? I mean, the weather's still pretty cool, but it wouldn't be crazy to have that. Certainly not on June 8th if you guys make it all the way.
I mean, he's proven it. So until he doesn't, there's no reason not to believe in him.
Got it. Got it. You guys
He's a
have
dog.
really, what's that?
He's a dog. Just
He's a dog. And
so
he's the
fun to
one,
play behind him.
and he's the captain of the team this year?
Yeah,
So he knowingly didn't add a pitcher.
correct.
It's like Yossi Kaufman, after being second fiddle for years, said, I'm taking this team all the way on my shoulders. Well, I don't know if it's on his shoulders. He's got a lot of great talented
Well,
behind him.
one of our pitchers moved, and the other pitcher was recruited by another team and turned them down.
Who recruited Ash?
So,
Who recruited Ash?
Steve,
Steve asked that.
Steve recruited Ash. That would have been
always.
Steve always
I mean,
recruited. They're very
as
close.
he should.
Right. Did you
By
see
the
New
way,
Year's established.
I tell you something. The one player that I think every team tried recruiting but weren't able to get, other than the Robins, was Matt Rosenberg. So you got to give props and props are due. I don't know what Ariel did to get Matt Rosenberg onto his team, but Steve claims that Matt's been on his roster the last 5 years. Yossi Kaufman told me he reached out to Matt. So I don't know what Ariel's doing and what Ariel's saying, but he somehow got Matt Rosenberg to play for him, which was a
Well,
pretty impressive.
he took a fat offer last night. So,
He did? Wednesday.
oh
Oh, right.
yeah,
You know, I saw. I'm actually still on the old Robins chat from like 5 years ago because Ariel Cohen says once a Robin, always a Robin. I saw they got shut out in back-to-back
not
games.
me.
Right. I saw they got shut out. I saw they got shut out in
Yeah,
back-to-back games last night. So addictive ads are one of them. So
we turned to triple play. It's pretty wild.
that's crazy. That doesn't happen too often.
one second?
No,
Rami
loaded.
shut down Rami Levine pitch against Matt Rosenberg. Wow, great job, Rami.
Yeah, 8 innings, no runs.
Wow, it's not an
Extra.
easy.
Right, it was an extra inning, 1-0 win. Right.
Were the Goldenbergs around?
Just one. Just Jake.
I think Jakey.
I
I think Josh is hurt.
Is Yehuda Nenner playing B-League ball?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. When you have those guys on a team, it's just very hard to not give up any runs because one of them is going to turn a single into a triple, and then you're, screwed.
Right.
So Nenner, why don't you tell us? Do you feel a difference in your confidence and your ability to hit players? Forget even a year ago. Compare it to 2-3 years ago. I do feel like you've really elevated yourself over that time.
I think that I gotta give credit to the guys I play with. I just started playing with guys who are at a much higher skill level than me, and these teams that I'm playing on now, after a guy gets an at bat, like just 5 or 6 guys will huddle up and like we'll all discuss what the mindset was, what you were thinking, how you could have adjusted there, and like I think that's the biggest difference is that I'm actually getting coached a little bit and getting insight and feedback on my play.
That's good stuff. You never had tutelage in this kind of way before.
No, I mean guys will always chat and whatnot, but there's a difference when you're playing with guys who just have such good baseball brains, and they're looking at your stance and they're saying, oh, you're swinging with your arms and you're not twisting your hips and you're not adjusting your weight, rather than just being like, oh, you made good contact. Like,
Who on your
Right.
team would you
okay,
say is the? Who on your team would you say? Name me 2 or 3 guys who really have the. Don't give me 5 names. Give me 2 names who really have great hitting minds
I
that are
mean,
helpful.
everyone, but really Archie comes to mind, and as a younger and Yossi Kaufman, he's been really good at like, mindsets when it comes into your at bats. Because he's a coming as a pitcher, he comes to you and says what he would do. So it's like, what would you do as the batter?
Avi, were you going to say something, Edelman?
No, I was going to say I don't like calling people old, but I think, something that stands out about, and maybe it's like this a little bit in the YMSL, but something that stands out about HSL is we have a lot of quote-unquote older guys who are still top of their game and fantastic players. So they have a mix, of that talent, incredible talent, like Glenn Zuckerman comes to mind, but also the fact they've been playing softball for 30 years. Like, a lot of these young studs, freakishly athletic players, don't take anything away from them. They're fantastic players, but they still been only playing competitive softball for 4 or 5 years. These guys have been, like, it's almost as if sometimes, I speak to people and they think like, oh, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the talent wasn't like, it's the opposite. The softball talent from people I've spoken to was a lot better, I think, than it's ever been right now. So like when you combine the fact that a guy is, 45, 50 years old, 40 years old, playing for 20 years competitive softball with, Sock Felberg even brings to mind, together with the fact that like you have that IQ, that amazing IQ of, knowing what to do with your experience, and you're still super talented at what your position on the field is. That's what, having 6 or 7 of those guys. I think you have at least 6 or 7 of those guys on that team, Avi. That's, I feel like, a tremendous benefit to anybody who's playing in that.
It really is. And everyone, it doesn't matter who's saying what. We're all listening to each other because at the end of the day, it's a team sport. We're all trying to win. It's not like, oh, well, I put good wood on that. So his criticism shouldn't, I should just brush it off. It's like, no, like, what can I do to make sure that ball didn't hang up? Or what can I make sure to, to do to try to go the other way? And stuff like that.
Great stuff. Um, Speaking of as younger, you're reminding me about something I wanted to get to. He's a great scorekeeper. He's a real baseball guy, which I didn't know until this year. And he
I actually
diligently
have his
kept.
book. I have his book here now. That
He wrote a book. Oh, a scorebook.
no, his scorebook. Yeah.
I thought he wrote a book on baseball.
No.
Somebody
No.
should, by the way. Somebody should about these leagues. It would really be interesting to read. Um,
You know who the man to do it would be.
I need something with a little more life to it, not just stats.
No, I'm not talking about that. I was actually referring to Sam Sutton. It's a
Oh,
classic him move
interesting.
to do.
We want
Yeah,
more
it's right up
Queens
his
and
alley.
Redmond base. So
That's
as
true.
last week we had a very big matchup. We had Gordon Companies versus the Bombers, the Edgar Agent Bombers, and it was such an important matchup. We moved it from earlier in the season to later in the season when the teams are a little bit more gelled. They're checking each other out, so on and so forth. Glenn's messaging me. What did I do wrong? Oh, no, nothing. He said, Glenn wrote, you left out an option in the poll. I don't want to hear from either of them.
That's what I said.
So, as a younger, keeping score, we moved this game from earlier in the year. Gordon Companies wins a close game 5-4. Avi Edelman's on site keeping track of the stats. And then somehow player of the week for the player of the game goes to somebody on the other team that didn't win. He had 4 singles, I guess.
Well, he did. He won the second game.
Both games weren't against Gordon.
No.
Yeah, but the question is, should the player of the week have come from the team that won the game of the week, a game that was so important? It was a rematch from last year's championship, and that was moved, necessitating multiple travel double headers in the 5-10s, which we've never done before. I'm just asking a question to the commissioner. There's no judgment here. It's just
No, the honest answer is that it was definitely an oversight. I'm not saying if I thought correctly I would have changed it. I might have, but it was definitely an oversight. That being said, Avi had a great day. When I was there, at least he had 2 bombs, and he had a third bomb that was a beyond bomb that was just foul. But he hit really well. I don't know. I don't know your stat line against the in the next game. But
also Glenn's stat line doesn't make sense. How could it be 4 for 5 if he played 2 games? He only had 5 at bats in the 2 games.
with a walk.
Oh, I
6
left
at
the
bats.
walk out. Okay,
It makes sense. Anyways, Glenn all season has been once again. I think game 1 he didn't hit well off me again, like he usually doesn't hit well off me. But since game 1, I think Glenn has had like the highest OBP in the league by far. The problem is Glenn bats 2, and this is my thought process, and it could be I'm wrong, but Glenn bats 2. When you're batting 2, it's very hard to get a lot of pop in your stat line, right? Very hard to get a lot of pop in your stat line. So I figured if there's gonna be 1 week to give Glenn the player of the week, would be this week, because he once again went 4 for 5. He once again didn't make an out. He once again got a hit off, kept on getting hits off guys who are just very solid pitchers. And typically, you don't get a chance to win player of the week when you're batting in a 2-hole, when you don't really have much RBI opportunities. So that was my thought process. It definitely, again, I didn't have Avi Nenner on one screen, Glenn on the other screen, compare and pick Glenn. I might have still picked Glenn. However, that was my thought process in putting a guy 4 for 5, even though he didn't have any RBIs. He only had singles. He had no doubles. But being that his OBP is through the roof, and he bats number 2, and he doesn't get too many chances to get player of the week, I figure this is the week to do it. Especially when he does it off a guy like Gussie Kaufman and even Arnold Cohn, who might not be that level, but he's still a very solid pitcher.
what do you say, Nenner?
So you give Zach Wheeler the Cy Young this year because he came in second 3 of the last 5 years. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Listen,
Like, what are we
listen.
talking? Are we talking? Glenn had 6 at bats. I had 8 at bats as a 5 hitter. So as a team, we were much better. I scored every time I got on base and had 4 RBIs. I'm not saying I should have won. I don't even think I should have won in my team. I actually think Ellie Koningsberg should have won. But that's
Koningsberg had a
besides the
shot,
point.
man. That was one of
Yeah.
the
Oh, dude, that freaking killed that
that
ball
was one of the deepest shots that I've ever seen hit in North Winter Park because that hit the
off of
bottom of the
Steve.
fence and it was a dead center. It was crazy. It was. I never saw. I mean, I don't know how much feet that is, but that's a crazy shot.
Um,
I'm just saying that you want to give it based off of a season. It's okay, fine. Glenn wins the batting title. Shkoyev doesn't mean he wins an individual award in a week.
That's
Nenner,
true. That's a good point. Listen, no, listen. It's a good point. I'm always one. I'm very passionate about what I say. I'm very big belief in what I do. But when I hear good points, it's a great point. I agree. Again, I do think Glenn had a great game. And I don't want to get on here and say Glenn didn't deserve it. He definitely deserved it. He played really well. Is there anybody else who deserved it more that I might have overlooked? Possibly. I don't know. Again, I didn't look too deep. Again, like I said, I don't even know your stat line right now. I know game one you had a really good game. I think you had 2 hits and 2 RBIs. I don't know what you did game two.
It was a
Um,
little better. So
Game two is better. All right. Well, we can look at your
mhm.
stat line and see how badly I may have messed up. But I guess that was
It's
sort of my
okay.
logic. I guess that was sort
I
of my
ho-
logic. You know,
I hope I hope Glenn enjoys dinner one night.
he was he was a staple of his lineup. He was definitely the he didn't make an out all day except for once, and even his out I think was a line drive right at the right center fielder. That's my thought process. And I was at the game. Maybe I don't know that just what came to my mind when I made the decision. I didn't. I definitely. But I didn't just pick it out of a hat. But I didn't
What do you,
dive so deep into it.
shouldn't you don't want the captains to like submit a player each week?
I would love to if they would do it.
So why don't you just ask them?
It takes time. It's not so
Or
easy. A lot
why?
of times,
Okay, so say you're gonna announce player of the week on Tuesday morning, like every Tuesday morning, and give them till Monday.
yeah,
If they
we
don't
should get a
submit,
better
if they
system. We
don't
should.
submit, like
I
at the
agree.
end of the
I agree.
day,
I agree.
at the end of the day, me as a player would want Yossi to give an answer, whether it's me or someone else, because he's my captain and like
You're saying
he
each
was for the
team
team.
submit a player, and the league decides based on the player's stat line who they played against, who the player of the league should be.
Yeah,
I hear that. I think the Bombers still would have submitted Glenn, but you're saying then I may would have had
that's
everything.
fine,
You're
but
saying
you
I would have had
can't have
everything more in front of me is what you're saying, and be
even
able to make it
even
better.
the
All right.
losing team should submit a player. Let's say the guy
Oh,
goes three for
right.
three or
Well,
three
that's a
home
whole
runs.
other topic. Whether if you
You know
lose, whether
who's
you're able to get player. Like if the Bombers would have lost to the Robins, I wouldn't have given it to
well,
Glenn.
I
Um,
understand that, but if you're gonna say then it's just about the best team, then Yossi should have won because he finished 2-0 and made sure that there was a four-way tie at the top of the standing.
right. By the way, are you guys 4-3 right now? You don't have a doubleheader. I mean,
Four,
five and
three.
two.
I don't know. I missed a couple games,
I
so
think you guys are 5-2 because you had a doubleheader last week also. So officially, right now we're behind both you guys. But if we win out and you guys both win, we have the 3-way tiebreaker, which is why it puts us in first place. Is
Look,
how it
let's
works.
get to the power rankings in a minute. A couple more questions.
yeah. And give us the playoffs scenarios after.
Bromberg's been a little slow. We Bromberg's been a little slow with the scenarios. He's too
He's a
busy
busy
with
man
the.
consulting.
But no. He's there's we're running this youth hardball league, and there's like you add kids to the equation, and scheduling becomes a nightmare. And
Trying to figure out how to get the kids to do travel doubleheaders.
No, we're trying to figure out how to get the kids to do doubleheaders in general. That's what we're trying to figure out.
they're claiming that kids can't do.
Apparently, third and fourth graders don't have the attention span to play 3 hours of baseball. So,
We
so
don't
that
have
that
the attention span to pay 3 hours of baseball.
yeah. What'd you call it, Dave? The college. What was it? What'd you say? It was the generations, huh? Like back in the day, the people would be playing for six.
Niscanu
Yeah,
Adoros.
speak to Steve Powell. I was playing four games, or South Felber. I was playing 4 games in a row on a Sunday. Now you got people, and I don't know. Listen, when I was a kid, I would have died to play for 6 hours on a Sunday baseball. I was obsessed with baseball. If the JCBL is so popular and amazing, being hardball, like I would think these kids would love to do it, but apparently not. Apparently, an hour and a half is too much for them. So that's what
Anyway,
Adam's dealing with
so
right now.
wait. So do you want to do the playoff scenarios? So what are the playoff scenarios that we need to keep
From
in
what
mind?
I understand right now, it's very simple. If we went out, if QJL, BJL, Queen Jewish Link, Bukharian Jewish Link, if we went out, we get the 1 seed, because even if the Bombers were to win and Gordon Companies were to win, there's a 3-way tie at 5-3, and the way it works in the 3-way tie, it goes by wins losses between the 3 teams. So we beat the Bombers, we beat Gordon Companies, we lost to Gordon Companies. We beat 2-1, and then the
We
Bombers. the Bombers would be 1-2, and then Avi Nenner's team would be 2-2. So the Gordon Cup would be 2-2. So if it's a 3-way tie, we would get the 1 seed. However, if we lose a game, right, one of our 2 games, and then both the Bombers and Gordon Companies both win and they remain tied, I'm pretty sure due to point and run differential, the Bombers get the 1 seed because they have a better, even though they both beat each other once, they have a better run differential. They beat, I think, Gordon Companies by 2 runs or 3 runs, and Gordon Companies beat the Bombers by 1 run. So that's how it's looking. If we lose a game and the Bombers lose a game and Gordon Companies win a game, that's the only way Gordon Companies get the 1 seed in the bye. So it's very clear. If we win out, QJ gets the bye. If we lose a game, and the Bombers win, the Bombers get the bye.
And that's
If
one
us,
game. The first round is one game.
no, the play-in game is 1. The semis and the championship are best of 3s.
So what's the bye?
The play-in, the 1 seed. I mean, sorry, the 1 seed. The 1 seed. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. The 1 seed plays the winner of the 4-5. You rather play the Blue Wahoo / Robins than you rather play the Bombers or Gordon Companies.
It's not a
That's what I
bye.
mean.
It's not a bye.
The top 3 officially get buys.
Does that
4
mean
versus
you're
5 plays the
also?
play.
Does that mean also the winner of the play-in game then has to play one game against Bombers or?
Yes, right away, right after. Correct.
The other teams are going to play a doubleheader that day too.
They have
So
to in
one
order for us to
right, no,
get
so
him
I'm saying
best.
one series will be done with 2 games, and one series will be done with 1 game.
Correct. So the 2 versus
Got
3
it.
will play a doubleheader, and then the 1 will wait for the winner of the 4 versus 5, and they'll play game 1 right after.
And when do the Bombers play this Sunday? They play the early or the late game?
I think they play there. I think you guys.
We play the late
What
game.
time do you guys play?
9:45.
I think the Bombers are at 8.
So in theory, everything will be known before we play.
Yes, for what you're meaning. If us and the Bombers lose, if you win, you're in. If I win and if I win and the Bombers win, then you have nothing to play for. If I win and the Bombers lose, then you have to play for the 2 seed. Theoretically, if us and the Bombers both win, you officially don't have anything to play for.
Okay.
Who are you playing now? What?
We're playing Count Appliance, who we played last week.
So then that both you guys wouldn't have anything to play for then, which is unfortunate. All right. Well, hopefully the Bombers lose. We need to win. We lost to the Robins already. We can't lose to the Robins again. It's embarrassing. I wasn't there, but still, we gotta
They're a good
win.
team. They're not bad.
I know,
They're-
but still, a team with our aspirations, you got to beat a team that's playing in the Pine League for the first time. You got to get the job done.
Yeah, but when you have a pitcher like Ario, you're going to be in games. Just inevitable.
That's true.
Well, his hitters will learn to hit, but he's carrying them now.
That's true. You're right.
It'll flip
agree.
in a few years, but
Yeah, I agree 1,000%.
So Nenner, I have 2 more questions for you, and then let's do the power rankings, and then I got to jump. Question number 1. Well, it's really 2 questions. Question number 1: who's the best pitcher in the area, not in the HSL, in the 5 towns or Queens or in these leagues?
good question. It really depends. I mean, you need one. I don't know. I guess it's a toss up. It really depends on the day. Each pitcher has their own stuff that when they're on, they're the best thing around. When Ash is locating his fastball, nobody hits him. When Steve is working his fastball with his off speed stuff, nobody's touching him. When Yossi's dotting the corners and has his riser on, nobody's touching him. When Avi's putting every pitch exactly where he wants, and his defense is located exactly where he tells them, and the ball lands in their mitt without them taking a step, he's the best pitcher. Like, it really just depends. When Ario's becoming a fantastic pitcher with his new riser, it really depends on the day, and I guess depends more on the defense behind you than the actual pitcher themselves.
That's actually a very respectable answer, by the way, because it's very true. Like, you have a guy like Ash. If Ash walks nobody, there's no one in the world that's scoring more than 2 runs off him. I won't believe it till I see it. I haven't seen it yet. I know everyone talks about, the tournament one year. I think he got knocked around a little bit against, I forgot if it was Uri Adler's team. I forgot. But apparently he walked like 7 or 8 guys, and it was a gold ball, and his team was just making error. I don't know. I didn't see it. But until I see it with my eyes, I'm not going to believe it. But it's a good point. When you're dealing with this type of talent, it really depends on it depends on the pitcher's game. I guess the question I would ask is, if you had one game, one championship, win or go home, you have to pick a guy to pitch for you.
Are you telling me their best stuff is working that day?
Yes, assuming they're going to be on for you and they're going to dominate the most they could possibly dominate. Who would you go
Their
with?
best stuff, honestly, it might be Koenig. When he has his riser on, that's probably the hardest pitch to hit.
It is. Last week, by the way, that was. I don't know how good of a eye you got on that. You got on that pitch. That was one of the filthiest pitches I've seen in a very long time, and he hasn't thrown many of them anymore. But it went ankle to knee. It was incredible. On the
When
strike three to Koenigsberg.
when that pitch works, it's disgusting.
The other question I have for you is who, not somebody on your team, who do you look up to as a hitter these days?
I guess it has to be Glenn. Just
You guess it would have
his
to be Glenn. Oh,
approach.
interesting.
It would have to be Glenn. The fact that he can just walk up there and be like, okay, either I'm gonna hit with some pop now, or I'm gonna just hit a base hit. Like that's what I'm looking to be as a hitter. Like somebody who can just find the empty hole and just hit it there every single time. It's just so professional, and every time it doesn't look like he takes a bad swing. Even if he were to miss or foul off a ball, every swing just looks like it had intent.
Yeah, the guy hit on Monday night. Hit off me where it looked like he was golfing the ball, and he just sliced it like this, and he ripped one to right center. I'm like, Glendale, it's by your toes. Like, how are you hitting that? He's like, well, it was on the outside part of the plate, and it was low enough that I knew if I make the right contact, I'll slice it right over the second baseman. I'm like, it's not a normal thing to say. Like it was crazy. It was like a, I don't know if I could show, but it was like a boom. He does it. He did it on Sunday also, by the way. It's like a sort of like a half slice low. He just like sort of like spins the ball over the second baseman. It's pretty, and he's not 25 years old. The guy. It's crazy how he keeps
No,
this going.
literally last week it was like I think Svilau was playing second. It would be like, okay, move to your left 2 steps, and then Glenn would hit it to the left, and then then he moved to the left 2 steps. Glenn hit it to the right. Like it was just like he was throwing the ball basically. It was crazy.
Um,
Yes.
Avi, also you mentioned to me you had some thoughts on the difference between the A leagues and the B leagues. I think.
Um, I just think it has to do with camaraderie. Like I was saying before, when
Mm.
I could hit a double in the gap, and still everyone's coming to me and telling me what I can do better. And in a B league, guys want to say, no, I'm playing in the right defensive position. I don't want to move back. Especially like Avi as the pitcher. You want to know what your defense is when you're going to throw a certain pitch to a certain batter. You want to know your left fielder is X amount of feet from the line or deeper than normal because you're going to lob it over a little more and the guy's going to get under it. He's going to get under it, but he's going to hit it further. And therefore, it's not going to be a home run, but he's still going to kill the ball. So I think the difference is, in A League, the pitcher will say something or other guys will say, like, hey, I know this batter. Everyone do X, Y, and Z. We're in the B League. You can say, I know the batter. I know the pitcher. And guys are like, no, no, I got this. I'll
Yeah, I
back
was gonna
up.
say I got this. I
I'll
got
make
this.
the
Yeah, I was
play.
gonna
Don't
say
worry,
that.
don't worry. I'll make it. I'll make it. And sometimes it works. We were playing yesterday, and Ariel Cohen was batting, and Adam Bromberg went to play short center, kind of behind second. And I was like, you're standing in no man's land. Ariel pulled the ball, and you know what? Ariel hit the ball right to Adam, and I was wrong. Avi would know this. 98% of the time, Ariel's pulling that ball, so it's like,
I put my
okay,
whole outfield on the left side. I don't put anyone on the
exactly.
right side of
I
second.
will take that risk. The guy hits a double. Okay, fine, but more likely than not, he's gonna get out.
Yeah.
I'm going to win the battle, the war. It's not about the battle. Not only that, you stack the line. The guy wants to go the other way. He's overthinking, so he's either going to ground the ball to the first baseman, or he's going to pop up to the right fielder. It's a mind game. It's not just mind game when you're pitching and you're batting. It's a mind game when you're fielding as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Archie talked about this on the podcast, how he's constantly talking to Yossi Kaufman on the mound, like literally every single pitch. Forget at bat, constantly talking to him, whispering to him what to do next. It's just like the whole communication piece that I think brings a team to a whole new level, especially when you're so connected, also as well. Like similar to Cobarentos a little bit in the Legacy League. They're like that a little, where they have veteran presence, so it's different, but they're also very like that. That Gelb's constantly communicating with his team. Sach behind the plate is constantly telling his guys where to go, and they have a great communication on the mound. That's why I think they're my. Well, we'll get into it with in the next podcast when we talk about the legacy playoffs. But they're my favorites as of now.
It's also, a guy screws up in the A League. He knows he feels worse than everyone else. Nobody wants to turn around and yell. But after the inning, 5, 6 guys go in. Let's discuss what the mindset was. Why did you make that play? What were you thinking? Last week we were playing a game, and we had discussed who would take the cutoff and where the pitcher would go on a ball in the outfield. And I said that I need to go cover the pitcher's mound, and the pitcher should back up the plate. Okay, guy's on second. Guy hits the ball in the outfield. I forget to go cover the pitcher's mound. Ball comes in. If I cut it off, I would have had the guy dead to right at second base. Okay, run scores, runner at second. Inning ends. The whole team comes up to the Avi. Where were you? What were you thinking? And I was like, you know what? You're right. Hand up. I made a mental mistake. I zoned out during the play, and I cost the team a run.
Yeah, you have to be very emotionally tough to play in the Monday Night League. It's not a league for somebody who can't handle the emotional stress. I say it all the time. Medos comes first, and you have to always do your best to control yourself. But you got to be emotionally tough because when you're playing tough teams and where every single batter makes a difference, you know, it's very emotionally difficult, and you got to be ready. You got to be ready for that type of play.
All right,
Aside from the
Avi,
physical and the talent.
let's get to the power ranking.
All right. So we'll start at the six, and I think this is a, unfortunately pretty obvious one. Town Appliance. First of all, I want to give a shout out to everybody at Town Appliance for bringing the team. They're a new team in the league. They're a bunch of young guys, very nice, good guys. I had a couple of really conversations. We had them on the podcast,
Good looking guys
and
too. Good looking guys also.
very good looking guys. And we want to thank them because there aren't a lot of teams like them. There aren't a lot of teams out there that'll take that leap. They didn't win a game, and you'll have guys in the background being like, "Oh, you can never get teams to win games in the tight league unless it's a draft." I don't think that's true. They're competitive. They lost 9-5. They lost 8-3. They lost 6-4. They lost 4-2. They weren't, down to the wire necessarily, but they're young kids. They're very solid on hitters from what I understand. They have a couple of issues in the field. I already spoke to them. They hopefully plan on coming back for our fall night league. Hopefully we'll play in the A League as well for that. But I want to give a lot of props and a shout out to them. They, currently are 0-7 and will be playing their final game this week. So I appreciate them for joining the league, but they're number 6. I don't think any of you have any disagreement on that, do you?
No, but they were a solid team. If they could really keep the walks down and just communicate a little more in the field, look like they
Agreed.
could play
I hear that
ball.
from everyone. I'm hearing that from Yossi Kaufman. I'm hearing that from Steve Pollan. Even Yankee Itzkowitz made a comment. They said they're very happy these guys are here because they're young kids who are only going to get better and better and just smarter and smarter. Coming in at number 5, and this is a bit of a tough one because the Blue Wahoos actually, they just, beat the Robins last week. And Toby was messaging me, "Oh, I had my full team here, and it was the first time we had our full team." And although the Robins beat them the first time, Tuvia beat them just now. I'm still gonna put the Blue Owls to 5. Reason being Ariel Cohn. Ariel Cohn is, as we know, a very, very good pitcher. He's only elevated his game in the last 2-3 years, and he's very solid. Tuvia is similar to me in a sense. Pitches to his field, and it's a lot more of a CRAP shoot with that team. I don't like the curse.
And
I'm not
one
gonna say
thing,
no.
what yeah, crapshoot isn't a that's not a curse word, Avi.
My wife wouldn't be so happy with me, so I gotta respect that.
Okay, and it's Mother's Day coming up, so it's
That's
her weekend.
it's true. That's true. It's a good
Show
point. Okay.
unbiased is all that
So I'm
matters.
biased. Avi, there's one other thing about Ariel Cohen's team, which is these guys have been playing, everything that Nenner was just talking about. These guys have been playing together for years, and there's something, a lot of these guys are playing together 2-3 times a week.
That's
So,
true. Yeah, no, good
reason,
point. You're right. You're right.
whether the word is, yeah, go ahead, Avi.
I think it's also a little more is that on Orioles team, you have guys that will, like the Goldenbergs or Lita Nenner, they're going first to third on every single. It's not a question. They're gonna go and they're gonna challenge the defense. Where until these team, they're
Right.
great hitters, much better
And one
hitters than
bobble,
the
one
Robins.
bobble in the infield, they're on base. One
But
bobble in the infield, they're on
but
base.
they're not gonna. They're right, exactly. They're not gonna create cause the chaos on defense.
Right. So that's I think the reason why you got them at 5, and of course you have the Robins at 4. The Robins had, as I predicted, a very successful season in my opinion. They're still playing us one more time. They did not beat Gordon Companies. They did not beat the Bombers. However, they had a tying run at the plate against the Bombers. They lost to Gordon Companies on a catch by their on a drop pop up by their catcher, which were the only runs they gave up to them. I think they lost 4. I forgot the score. It was 4-1 or something, or 3-1, 5-1 was it?
I think
It was a
everything
close
was.
game.
Yeah.
I remember the catcher dropping the ball after like 2 or 3 runs, and that was basically it. So the Robins aren't going to score. Definitely not going to score a lot of runs. But Ariel's a good pitcher. They have a great field. They have great communication. And as we predicted, I think it was a beyond brilliant move by the league by HSL having the Robins come to Tier 1. So they'll be number 4. That being said, I do believe that QJL, BJL, my team, although we did lose to the Robins last week, we didn't have Noah Aaron, we didn't have Moshe Zinn, and we didn't have myself. I think with our full team there and me on the mound, knowing my teammates and playing with a lot of these guys also for a very long time, Moshe Zinn and Hillel Rokach, short in third, Yaakov Sabo at second, playing these guys for years and years on a million different teams, playing them in Coil and in fall ball and in the Five Towns Monday Night League for many years. Although Zinn's a traitor, I him and I, what can I say? Avi just grabs all the guys. Anyways, my point is that although the Robins did beat us, I do believe this week we're going to win. I will predict that we'll win. We assume my guys are going to show up. and I do believe we've been in the Monday Night League for longer. And I just think we're an overall better team. We also have a lot more hitting, obviously. We have a very deep lineup. And by the way, I believe that we're right in it. Not that we're second fiddle to the Bombers or Gordon Companies. Avi could speak on this. Our lineup is beyond deep. Last year, we lost a close game to Nenner's team in the semis, but we've gotten a lot better. We picked up Noah Aaron. He's a fantastic, fantastic outfielder
Noah
and
is
fantastic hitter.
He
unbelievable.
playing center?
Um,
He playing center for
he
you guys?
plays he plays center for us. Yeah, Jakub Sabo's playing regular now. Last year he was very in and out, and he's much more regular. Rokachen's in at short and third. We have a great Ari Moskovic's back to being a regular again, getting back into shape. Jonas Lowinger is we have a very deep team. So a very deep team, and more specifically, we're just fantastic in the field. We do not make mistakes, which I think is a very big plus. Benji Ashkenazi, huge pickup. He's one of the most underrated softball players. The guy just knows how to hit.
He's one of the peskiest hitters in the league. He's one of the peskiest.
Yeah, for me personally, having a combo of Yoel Pfeiffer and Benji Ashkenazi with one of them catching, they both just know the position, and they're they're talented. They're talented players. They're not catchers. They can play in the field. They just play catcher because they like it.
Benji's hitting is way better than Yoel's, no?
Benji's hitting is like liquidated.
I'm talking about catching. I'm talking about strictly as a pitcher.
Of Glenn.
Right. I'm talking about as a pitcher.
Wait,
you don't have one of those guys.
What did you say? Nenner, what did you say?
Benji Ashkenazi is like the Walmart, not Walmart, I guess, liquidators to Amazon of Glenn hitting. He's a great hitter, just not at Glenn's level. But also,
right. No, it's very similar.
Can hit. You set up the defense, he's gonna find a hole every time.
He's a dollar store version of Glenn.
But
like in our lineup, you're gonna have. In our lineup with our full team, you're going to have Jaco Sabo at 6, me at 7, Sterling Friedman at 8.
I got to jump. Let's go. What else?
All right. So it comes down to the top 2. And
quick note on Noah Aaron and Moshe Zinn. Noah Aaron made them jump from B to A. At first, didn't love the comments and everything. Has become such a professional A-League player of listening to criticism and knowing where to play, and just unbelievable. Moshe Zinn, Daniel Ash coined this, the Matt Rosenberg of infields.
Correct. And Moshe Zinn was taken by the way.
What do you mean the Matt Rosenberg of infield? Slow down. I need the inside baseball here.
Okay.
Matt Rosenberg is the best outfielder around, and Moshe Zinn is the infielder version of him.
I was at an MSL game, and I won't say any names on here, and this is a great controversy to get into one time. There are a couple guys playing who said Moshe Zinn doesn't even come close to the top SYs around at shortstop.
Get the hell out of
here,
come
close.
Bobby, don't you talk about bases clearings in that?
And clip it, Dave. Clip this.
Show me.
They said he doesn't even come close.
Show me the SY shortstops who can hit like Moshe Zinn.
No, wait, I'm talking about strictly in the field. I'm talking about on the field. I'm talking about in the field. I want to be clear. I'm talking about strictly in the field. Forget hitting. Fielding shortstop, he said Zinn doesn't even come close to some of the top.
Oh, they said, not you. You're saying or they're saying?
They told me some guys who play in the YMSL and LBA.
Yeah, and you know what, Abby? You know what they said? They
M&S.
said the Five Towns team was going to lose, which is the Five Towns football team was going to lose to the Muncie team and was going to lose to the Lakewood team. And who came out on top? Zinn Island.
All right. I'm just saying Moshe Zinn apparently gets no love from the he gets love. They said he's a good fielder, but he says nowhere close. Anyways, back to the top.
He's a decent fielder. Yeah. He's B plus, A minus.
Anyways,
that's why he plays second base for Amnon's Kosher Pizza.
Anyways, back to the top 2. I would say it's a controversy, but without trying to create controversy by saying it's not a controversy, I don't think it's a question in my mind. Like, they split the series, and Gordon Companies and Yossi Kaufman is the sheriff of the HSL. They've done nothing but win championships. They won in the fall. They won in the spring. And I going into the final week, I don't see a scenario in which I can't put Gordon Companies 1. So the Bombers, Edgar Agent Bombers would go 2. Gordon Companies would go 1. And I think that's it. I think it's a fair power rankings. I don't think there's much disagreement. The Bombers could say, oh, we're the OG of the league. You guys lost. You guys lost the championship. Until you win a championship, being that you guys have even records, you beat each other once, you got to go Gordon Companies 1. And that's it for the power rankings. The final week should be a lot of fun.
I'm officially late, but I got to get the answer to this question. I need from Edelman and from Nenner. Let's start with Edelman, and then we'll get to Nenner.
This is the longest podcast we've done in probably 40 episodes, by the way.
Yeah, because we love talking to Nenner. So
because baseball's back.
What?
That's right. Playoffs coming up. Baseball's back. That's right.
Okay, I'm skipping the 4 and the 5 seed because that's a playing game and it's a little more complicated. It's for sure determined at this point that Blue Wahoos and Robins are the 4. Oh, they might not be. Okay.
Yeah.
So Blue Wahoos are for sure the 5 seed.
If we lose, we could fall into the playing game. I didn't say that.
Okay,
I
fine.
didn't mention that.
Okay, so let's do this. I need a betting line from you right now. Robins to win the championship. Minus what?
The Robins to win at minus
Plus what?
money?
What's the betting line? Let's start with the Robins.
Go, Avi. You go first.
No, I want to
You
know.
should write this down.
Okay, we should
I
write
should
it
go
down.
first. I should go first.
I want to go through. I'm going to go through all 4 teams with you. Robins, your team, Gordon Companies, and Bombers, and then we'll do Nenner, and then I got to leave.
What about the Blue Wahoos? They're also in the playoffs.
They're the number 5 seed, so it's a little. Okay, fine. Do them all.
Okay, so what do you want me to start with? You're writing it down?
Start with the Blue Wahoos.
Blue Wahoos are a plus 1,800.
Plus 1,800. Okay.
Yes.
1,800 to 1. Okay, next.
The Robins are a plus 600.
That's nice. That's giving
Yes,
you
no, I believe it. Because, like I said, if Ariel's on his game, his field is perfect. You never know. It's a best of 3, which is why I think they're still a plus 600. But
Okay, next.
then you got myself. I would say we're a plus 400. No, take it back, Edelman. 300.
Okay, now come the most interesting ones.
I would say that the Bombers are a plus 150, and Gordon Companies are minus 150.
Minus 150? Wow.
You think it's too higher?
What? No, I mean, I would have thought lower. I mean,
it's a pretty close spread. It's not a crazy
sheriff.
spread.
The Gordon Companies is awesome, but I mean, these are not easy teams to get through. That's all. I mean, it's like
I don't think a plus 150 to minus 150 is such a massive spread.
I think it's crazy. If we were playing each other head to head, it'd be a minus 110 to a plus 110.
Oh, so maybe I should have gone a little lower.
Maybe because it's earlier.
No team with 5 teams left, unless you're like, who's that F1 driver who wins every year? Verstappen. Unless you're Max Verstappen, nobody should be a minus when there's other teams.
Edelman, this is why I wanted Nenner to go second. He knows more about sports betting. Okay, Nenner, let's do it. Blue Wahoos.
The Blue Wahoos, I don't know, plus 2,000, I guess. They're a long shot. Nothing.
Robins.
Robins are probably plus 750, plus 800, because they're not scoring runs. Avi's probably a plus 650.
Wow.
And then
That's tough.
I would say then we're probably a plus 175 with the Bombers at a plus 190.
You mean because it's all the way before the playoffs?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can I take that back? I got confused for a second. I was envisioning that there had to be someone at a minus. I'm sorry. For some reason, that's Avi knows more about betting than I am. I would still put Gordon Companies ahead, but I'll put Gordon Companies at like a plus 150 and the Bombers at like a plus 180 then.
Well, let me ask you something. Before
that was a miss.
What were the Chiefs at before? Well, here's an interesting comparison. What were the Chiefs at before last year's playoffs, not regular season?
Before the playoffs, they were at it was like plus 150 or something. Before the season, they were at plus 650.
Okay, and what were the Eagles at before the playoffs? Similar or a little better odds?
Probably about plus 210 or something. Just okay. The NFC was more crapshoot.
All right, so Avi, what are you putting it at now?
That B?
No, Edelman.
I'll go plus 180 for the Bombers and plus 150 for Gordon Companies.
Slight edge to Gordon Companies.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
All right. That takes us to the end. We could probably do another hour, but I actually have a meeting I got to run to. So, gents, any closing thoughts?
If Avi doesn't got anything, I just want to say that we're once again super excited to head into our second ever HSL spring playoffs. It's been a fun ride, a fun season, and this is when things start heating up. This is when the juices start flowing. We also, by the way, just a shout out, I know this is not the Legacy pod, but we want to wish Refuah Shalem on his throw Muscat. He hurt himself in the Legacy game last week. We're still waiting on MRIs. We're hoping for the best. It looks like it may be a torn ACL, but we want to give a Refuah Shalem from the HSL, from Avi Nenner, and from everyone else, obviously watching this. Refuah Shalem to you're strong. Hopefully you get better soon. A very big piece, of the MS Motor Fireballs, which we'll get into in our next podcast.
All right, gents. Nenner, thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys.
Okay.